Focus on that. You've got enough of your own issues in your community. Talk about the millions and millions of people you guys mass unalive on an annual basis in your many wars. Okay, don't talk about black on black crime. Can we talk about white on brown crime? Because it is a crime, whether or not you want to dress it up with put a military on top of it. Your military goes out, and Snowden already exposed what kind of things you guys do to the women. Yeah, to the women that you, whenever you invade. Yeah, the women don't get a free pass. The women don't get away from your rapacious men. Yeah, so we can talk about a whole bunch of your criminality. Yeah, there's your criminality is literally unbridled. Yeah, your criminality is infinite. There's infinite opportunities to examine all of the ways in which your people are continually criminal. But you know, we've got better things to do. So here's a better idea. Leave us the f alone, and we'll leave you the f alone. How about that? Can we do that?
If you knew what you were made of, then we would save the world.
Okay, so we're going to get into another one of these grifters getting caught in the act. These red pill grifters, but what might surprise you this time is this red pill grifter is actually a woman. Some of you might know of this woman. Her name, I think, was Just Pearly Things or something like that. And she basically came out. She was one of the first women to agree with the red pill ideologies. I found her unwatchable. I tried at the start and I was like, oh, this woman's an idiot. Essentially, she's now moving her grift because the whole red pill space is dying a death as people realize they don't really offer anybody anything there. And the people who are signing up to this ideology aren't actually getting any more successful with women, which is really why it exists. And rather than tucking her tail between her legs and chilling out, she's just sidestepping and moving her grift along, because obviously she's got a lot of subscribers now. And her new grift is, well, wouldn't you guess, anti-blackism, because as we already know, they're all obsessed with black people. Like they are literally obsessed with black people, and they will be obsessed and justify it, and there's nothing we can do about it. They literally spend every waking hour of their life thinking about what black people are doing, either obsessing over it, despising it, being besotted with it. They're just literally all over our space. So unfortunately, yeah, this is where they're at the moment. But anyway, let's get into this video, because she kind of exposes herself here, and it's kind of satisfying to see. I got this from a channel called Gentleman's Den. First time the content's come up for me. So yeah, let's see in the future. I think it looks like a pretty decent channel from what I can see so far.
Ask her about the panel she just did with Fatty on Unleashed.
Oh, by the way, this guy on the right is called the lead attorney. I've only literally just come across one of his videos yesterday. He seems quite interesting. I haven't checked him out yet. I'm not co-signing. I haven't done the due diligence to vet him, but he seems pretty I don't want to use the word based. I hate that word, man. Ugh. Yeah, he seems pretty down to earth, pretty focused. So, yeah, I'm gonna keep an eye out for him, and if it turns out that he's any good, I'll probably be reacting to more of his content in the near future. But yeah, let's get into this one.
What does that mean? Do you know what this is referring to?
I do. I just did not a debate. I did a panel with Fatty and they crashed out. But that was the whole thing.
What was the debate about? Who?
You know what's funny? I really like the fact that she's getting set up here by another by another white woman. So it's like a white woman's in the chat, like, yeah, ask her about what she'll say on this. Like, she's getting exposed. I love it. It be your own. It be your own.
Who is Fatty?
I don't know if you want to go into this.
Did it get bad?
No, I just we can't. Hold on. Let me message
She's
it.
so ugly.
So look at her. So she's embarrassed by her racism. That's what you're seeing here. Oh, we can't get into it because she knows she's probably saying some wild, indefensible stuff, which is what they like to say in the comfort of their own control spaces. Yeah, when they're in the comfort of their own space, they will be as open, as brash, and as racist as they want. But when they're in front of someone who they know can hold them to account, someone who they know holds a high IQ, someone who they know they're going to have to qualify every claim that they make, that's when they're like, oh, I really don't want to talk about it. I bet you weren't like that when the subject came on your channel.
Hey, bro.
It's
hard to look at.
Yeah, it's still on YouTube and it's fine. I'm fine talking about it, but it's just with your show.
Dude just said she's hard to look at. Hey, look, you can't do anything about the looks that you're born with. But I guess the the argument here comes with, if someone starts to show that they have an ugly character, then it's all gloves off, isn't it? Yeah, if you want to start being, I mean, once you cross that racism line, when you want to start disparaging our whole community based on the acts of individuals or a minor contribution of us, then yeah, it's gloves off. Yeah, people will start talking about the way you look. And yeah, she ain't that easy to look at, let's be honest.
It's a contentious topic, so I don't know if you want.
Just tell us, what was the topic?
So the topic was if Black women date criminals more than other races.
They obsessed, bro.
If Black women date criminals more
I told you guys, these people.
Why is that even a talking point? Like on your show, do Black women date criminals more than... I mean, there's so many other... How about, do white women date serial killers more than any other race? Why don't make that the title of it? Or how about, do white women date domestic abuse killers? Do white women date men who are more likely to kill their children? Oh, taboo. Do white women date men who are more likely to be PDFs? No, too far? Shouldn't go there. Do white women date men who are more likely to plot to take over an island and enslave the population and kill the men and rape the women? Are white women more likely to give birth to a school pupua? But yeah, see, these are the conversations you won't want to have. Okay. And that's the thing, they only like these really comfortable conversations that are based largely on socioeconomic disadvantages or socioeconomic differences between the demographics of the populations. Yeah, that's what all these statistics are based on. But they want to focus on that and then make it a characteristic of Black people. Because essentially the argument being made here is, are Black men more predisposed by nature of them just being Black to being criminals than white men? That's what she's saying. And I think every ethnic group around the world will tell you that there's a single race that has caused literally global misery. And unfortunately, it doesn't match my physiognomy. It matches a different physiognomy. I'll let you, anyway, let the obsession continue, because this is what they like to do.
People are obsessed with us. They can't stop talking about Black people
and other races?
And I would say that's true.
Oh, shit.
So, and I'm not saying the white women don't do it too. We do. But it's just when
I would say that's true. Of course you'd say it's true. Of course you'd say it's true. Yeah, I would say that's true. They're more likely to date a criminal. Like, seriously.
interviewing and talking to people that was just more prevalent with Black women, and then they crashed out. And I said it, and the reason
there was more problem with Black women, and then they crashed out. So you told them something about their group that they cumulatively disagreed with, and then they crashed out. Yeah, because you're okay. You're fine to tell them this is a problem with your group. You like to date criminals, essentially, is what you're saying. Black men are predisposed to crime, and you guys prefer to date criminals. Like, do you not understand how that's insulting? Because that, like I've already just said, that's like me saying, well, you guys prefer to date men who are more likely to unalive you. Yeah, and white men are predisposed to unaliving their partners and children. Yeah, I could say that. I could just throw that out there. All right. But if I said that, then I have to expect the fact that people will crash out on me making a claim like that. Yeah. Do you not? Anyway.
The reason it came up was because I said that women date criminals, and then the girl got mad. She's like, Pearl, you're just the one dating criminals. And I'm like, no. And then at first I gave a different example. I gave a white example. I said Ted Bundy, like white women. We love serial killers. So we're like, Ted Bundy.
I mean, that's a ridiculous statement to say white women love serial. I mean, I was saying it tongue in cheek, but they obviously don't. Okay. They obviously don't. Are you talking about maybe a sect? Is there a historical, perhaps genealogical ancestral issue with white women being okay with the fact that their partners have committed mass murder? Yes, that's a genealogical thing. I think that's probably a hangover from sundown towns, from the Jim Crow era, from watching, innocent people get lynched or be run off their land. Yeah. Because a lot of the modern white demographic have ancestors who were involved or witnessed that, who still remember those things. Because this happened, like I said, quite recently, up to the 1950s, it was still happening. So when you witness stuff like that, or a lynching, you've got a whole town full of people there. Yeah. That's already desensitized you to the value of life on a mass scale. You're already desensitized. So are they probably going to be more unlikely to be unaffected by that kind of behavior creeping in their own family? Well, yes, because you've exposed yourself to it. But that is definitely not something that you could then turn around and say they love it. Like your entire argument is based on offensive and stupid talking points, man.
Luigi Mangione. And then she was like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, come on, you don't see these rappers out here that women are like, come on. And then
most women not dating rappers, you idiot. Bro, this girl's so stupid.
Mad at me.
It's a fact. Most women aren't dating rappers. And on top of that, once again, you're just talking about that one type of crime, which is socio-economically explicable. Okay, you can explain it quite easily using socio-economic factors. So if we've established that most crime takes place in a certain sect of society, let's say the kind of like poor to working class, yeah, so people who are in poverty on the working class border, okay, those people are probably the most likely predisposed to be, not predisposed, but likely to be criminals as a result of activities that they're around and their upbringing and all those contributing factors. Now, if we establish the fact that Black people have a larger proportion of poor people within their demographic, so within the kind of Black group, we have a larger proportion of people in that lower socioeconomic strata, so to speak, then it's obviously going to, the direct effect of that is going to be there are more people who are criminalized, there are more people who are going to go through that system and become criminals. Okay, now an idiot, or I should say only an idiot, wouldn't look back historically and see what are the contributing factors to the fact that Black people have a higher proportion of poor. And once again, we can go back to the Jim Crow era, we could talk about the stolen land, and this is not even going back to slavery. Okay, leaving slavery out, we could talk about stolen land, we could talk about the lynchings, we could talk about the sundown towns, we could talk about towns that are flooded underneath water, we could talk about the appropriation, the redlining, all of these factors that have contributed to a consistent kind of attack against Black economic growth. And wherever Black economic growth takes place, the continual kind of like state-backed attacks to deconstruct the Black effort to proceed to progress. Okay, that happens. That's a real thing in America. But even looking past all of that, let's now take that into account and say, okay, cool, we accept the fact that Black people have a higher proportion of poor and therefore they have more people who are criminalized. I'll accept that statistic. Are you willing to accept the statistic that near enough every school pupil comes from a middle class white family? The man who unalived Charlie Kirk the other day came from a middle class white family from a well-to-do area. None of that violence can be blamed on the Black community. None of that violence can be blamed on socioeconomics. None of that. That's just like wanton violence. One could argue that that is a predisposition in one's genetic structure to violence that perhaps is not reflected. Okay. In fact, we see these kind of like strands of criminality going right through regardless of class. Whereas if you look at other demographics like Black and maybe even Hispanic as well, when you start to get into those kind of middle and high earning families, you'll find that criminality almost disappears, and it doesn't with the white group. Okay, criminality continues. Criminality, like I already spoke about, the likelihood to be a PDF. Okay, the likelihood of unaliving your partner and children. These things don't seem to be economically restricted. So you can look at this kind of like statistic, which is overly skewed by the socioeconomic contributing factors. But if you was to pull socioeconomics factors out and actually then look in isolation at this particular socioeconomic level, okay, or this particular socioeconomic strata, and you'd see that white people are far more likely to be criminals than Black people within this socioeconomic strata. Okay, so there's lots of different ways that we can analyze the data. If you want to look at it in a very simplistic way, you might win the kind of like per capita numbers game and say, well, yeah, there's more criminals, or there's a higher probability of being a criminal in Black communities than there is in white communities. But then you can take into account other things, and also what is classified a crime, what's reported as a crime. Okay, how many people are criminalized who weren't criminals? We already talked, so many Black people have talked about the number of exonerations in the Black community, which is much higher than any other community. And we don't even have to factor in the fact that the number of people that aren't exonerated, that probably should be exonerated, is probably far higher. But on top of that, what about different types of crime? Okay, because you're looking at that. But let's talk about a specific type of crime. Who's more likely to date or marry a financial criminal? Okay, out of a white and a Black person. Like, there's different types of crime. Who's more likely to do dastardly deeds with your niece, with their own niece? Yeah, who's more likely to do that? Yeah, there's loads of different ways that we can analyze these kinds of lazy statistics and lazy bits of data that come out and say, oh yeah, black women like criminals. So it's like, come on, man, this is like, you shouldn't even be talking about Black people. Just keep Black people out of your mouth. We don't, like, you're not talking about Hispanic people, you're not talking about Asian people, you're not talking about white people, you're just focusing on Black people, because you already know your low IQ audience is always up for a discussion about Black people because you guys are obsessed.
For saying that, and then it was a crash out, and that was it.
And in terms of criminals, if we say that Black women date more criminals than, I say, white women, are there more criminals? Are there more Black people? Are there more Black criminals in the United States, or are there more white criminals in the United States?
Well, I'd say most people date in their race. Like most, there are interracial, but like do date in their race. And if 1 in 3 Black guys have felonies, it's just going to be more common.
Okay, let me ask the question again. Are there more...
at least, oh goddamn, answer my damn question. Answer the question, man. Quit deflecting.
In the United States, or are there more white criminals in the United States?
I don't know.
Of course you don't know.
It depends if you do it like total or per.
Yeah, I'm asking total.
Probably white.
Okay, so there and way more white criminals than Black criminals, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
But you're saying that even though there are way more white criminals, that Black women date more Black criminals than white women date white criminals? Yeah,
because most people in their race. And so it's like, what percent of a third of men don't have a felony? So like, if I was
more white criminals though, right?
Right, but I'm down like a percentage. So you talk to like 10 Black women, 10 white women.
What?
Like if you 10 white women, they're not going to know as many criminals.
See, if you just look at her right now, she's just making shit up. If there are more white criminals than Black criminals, don't you think white women will encounter criminals more than black women, they're just simple math. And right now, she's just making up shit off the top of her head right now. Because Just Pearly Thing is jumping on the black fatigue grift, right? Because she's low IQ, very unattractive, and she's not getting the views that she used to get by repeating the Manifear talking point, right? All y'all simps over there pandering to her, subscribing to her channel just because she's repeating the same shit that Kevin Samuels said. That's the only reason why she got 2 million subscribers, but she's not getting the views. She can't even pull in 10,000 views, right? So now she said, you know what? I'm a white woman. Let me try.
It's grifting time, baby. That's what she said. She said, you know what? It's grifting time.
To appease my racist white audience and low IQ black men that's over here subscribing to my channel and sending me money.
Just like on a balance of problems.
Even though there are millions more white male criminals,
But not per
I really
capita.
don't know the one.
They love per capita. They think that per capita is like the protection of them, but it ain't nothing but deflection, bro. Raw numbers trump per capita numbers. So I don't care. They always bring this up. If you bring up something that a black person done, it's all black people per capita.
And if you're going to do per capita properly, this is what I was saying. I think the fact that we've established that crime is inextricably linked with socio-economic conditions. If we're going to do per capita fairly, then we have to compare socio-economic sectors to say, okay, well, instead of looking at it across the board, you know, and saying, oh, well, blacks do this, let's say, well, put the rate of criminality amongst, you know, black people with an income from X to Y is this. What's the rate of criminality amongst white people with an income of X to Y? Then do a comparison there. Then look at middle class or another sector and say, you know, the rate of criminality amongst this group from here to here, this income is this, and then compare that directly to the white. If they did that, I think what you'd find is actually probably much more equitable than what's being kind of like propagated at the moment by people like this. But also then that leaves us the door open for us to then explore, like I said, some of these other discussions that they don't want to have in and around, you know, families, in and around the kind of depraved activities of a certain group of men, right? That's well documented. This is the big difference that I think you'd actually start to see. It's funny, I was looking at some statistics, and a lot of the criminality that is thrust upon the black community comes as a result of direct police reports. So I was looking into like rates of domestic violence and IPVs, and what you'll find is that the black demographic is the only one that shoots up after direct police reports. So for instance, when it comes to like white IPV, which is interpersonal violence between a male and a female partner, okay, it's much higher when you look at what's been reported by the victim. Okay, so when you look at victim reports, whites are the highest, Hispanics are the second, blacks are the lowest. After police reports, so that is, so think Jonathan Major, those of you who wonder what I'm talking about there. So this could be anything from a black man calling the police, getting there, and then the police deciding that he is the one that's at fault. When you take into account police reports, all of a sudden the black men shoots up to either be equal or sometimes even exceed that of the white men. Yes, on the white side, barely any police reports, literally just like a tiny amount. So what's happened is the police are playing a massive part in criminalizing black men. Whereas if you look at other sectors of society, it's not the police who are doing the criminalizing. It's it's people pressing charges. If you look at the natural order of things, black people aren't committing like any more crimes. But when you involve a police state who wants to criminalize a certain sect, suddenly the figure jumps up. I was actually quite shocked to see those statistics. And I'll probably do another video on it. I'm not going to go into detail here, but these are just some of the things that kind of afflict the Black community of the Americas, you know.
But a per 1,000, then you say, hey, so what about white? Oh, it's per capita.
3. That's surprising to think that 1 in 3 Black men have felonies.
Yeah. I think
where did it come from?
You can Google it.
She don't even know, bro. She out here.
I actually found a report supporting that, surprisingly enough. But once again, I would go back to looking at, you know, it's funny because I was looking at even that report, and what it seems to suggest that since 1980, the rates of the felony conviction rate for Black men has actually tripled, or more than tripled. I think it was at 7%, and it shot up like astronomically high. But then also the rates amongst non-Blacks has also shot up, not as much, but almost in the same rate. And what you'll find is that the rates of, like, you know, felonies and convictions tends to be 3 times or more higher amongst Blacks than it is amongst whites. And that was even the case in 1980, which I was surprised enough to hear. So in 1980, it was exactly the same case. So the police have always been convicting Black men at a much higher rate than white men or than Hispanic men. They've always been convicting them at a higher rate. And when you saw the driving convictions go up, like, once again, I think this is, I'm not saying that Black men aren't committing crimes, but I'm saying the disproportionate arrest and conviction rate, which is reflected in the disproportionately high exoneration rate, is an indication that this is more a symptom of, you know, strategic and systemic strategy, as opposed to just a happenstance of culture, essentially.
Spewing this statistic, and TLA, the lawyer say 1 in 3. That sound crazy. Hey, where did you get that from? Google it.
All right, so I think we're kind of seeing some of shoddiness in these arguments here.
The grill.
That's a very...
And the issue is that she doesn't know. That's the issue. You know, he's asked her a simple question, and she's not sure of it, but she's willing to repeat it. And I think that's the point that he's making here. You know, it shows shoddiness. You know, if you're able to talk about one group and you're not able to provide the supporting evidence for the other groups, then it shows that you have an agenda. I was actually quite shocked, once again, going back to these reports that I looked at, that actually you can find plenty of reports that only focus on the Black community. And these aren't necessarily reports written by Black people. So this obsession with, you know, studying, focusing, looking at the Black community, it's not something, like I said, once again, that's restricted to a certain sect. This is seems to be a group-wide obsession essentially for the white racial group to obsess over Black people, even when their lives don't directly affect them.
And I'm not saying that it's wrong.
It's a
but
grill.
That's a very stark statistic that 1 in 3 Black men have felonies. So it would be good if you're going to put that out there to kind of know where we, right?
Bro, she probably heard it from some racist white supremacy online, or one of these conservative, or one of these raccoons be repeating these false statistics about Black people. Just Pearly Thing is not a smart woman. She over there right now panicking that TLA is putting her in the hot seat right now, because when they regurgitate these same talking points that they hear on X or TikTok, and then they have no facts to back it up, they hear a little crazy. Like Just Pearly Thing can't stop looking at her computer. She's trying to find some statistic to get a TLA, but she can't.
And then it would be good to know.
Yeah, you can see the panic in her eyes. She absolutely is panicking.
The stats for what is kind of weird. Know the stats for Black men and not know the stats for white men. Is that a little weird?
It's funny because, like you just said, you can see her opening and closing windows and blinking profusely. She's definitely feeling the heat right now.
Very rude.
Do you know how many white men are felons?
Not off the top of my head. I know I've looked it up before.
Do we all see kind of what's going on?
Yes, we see what's going on. It's the grill. It's the know the white men statistics. They never know the white people statistics. They ignore those statistics. They only want to focus on black people because that's what they white supremacist audience want to hear. Per capita, black people are 10 times more likely. That's all they want to hear. Steven Crowder going to a black barbershop, spurring out all these false statistics that could be easily debunked. And what TLA doing right now is, bro, he's walking her down. And when you have real conversations with people that know what they talk about, they look like a fool. See, Just Pearly Things wasn't prepared for this right now. She just used to going on these panels and just making up shit and just talking.
Right, and this is what you got to be.
And the thing is, he's pointing out the fact that, yeah, he is walking it down, but he's not even trying. He's just asked a couple of really simple probing questions. But the problem is there aren't enough people out there asking these simple probing questions, because a lot of the time is they want to take you down a rabbit hole into talking points that really aren't relevant. Like, I'm glad he mentioned Steven Crowder there, because he does the same thing, where they want you to have a discussion around these really kind of like either skewed or fake or, you know, essentially unbalanced and biased analysis of statistics. And really, we've got to pull them back at every point and say, every time they make a statistic about black people, say, well, what's the equivalent rate that you see in the white community of that? Okay, well, let's get the focus back on to you, you know, rather than focusing on us. How does that affect you? Why are you concerned with that? You know, once again, going back to this whole idea of like black fatigue being a term that we created to describe the exhausting experience of putting up with people like this, you know, just trying to live our lives, and the exhausting experience of these people constantly bringing us up in their own dialogues, in their own closed and personal spaces, us being the topic of every single waking moment of their existence. And how exhausting it is as a black person to just want to be able to go about your business and to be constantly accosted by morons like this, accosted in our social streams, accosted personally when we see them on the street, accosted in our jobs. We don't want to have to deal with you idiots all the time, but we literally have to. Why can't you leave us alone? Your obsession with black people is just like tiresome, man.
Be careful about. Now, if you're just going to be dating on this fatty guy's channel, you don't really have to be, I guess, so buttoned up, right? If you want to present yourself and like, hey, I know what I'm talking about.
She don't.
It's weird to know how many black men are felons, but not to know how many white men are felons. But then
Right.
If you want to do it, you can
Now she
Google
want
it
to
if you
just
want.
Google it.
you're the one making the argument, not me.
Right.
Well, I came here to talk about the marriage debate.
Oh, she
Oh,
wanted
so let's just
No,
end
well,
I
it.
wanna deflect TLA. Don't do it.
It's fair. You're fine.
Like,
And you were like, lead, I don't know if you want to talk about this fatty shit. So you warned me. All right. So fair enough. Fair enough.
bro.
Exactly.
Yeah, and she threw in the towel there, and he kind of let her off the hook. I think she wanted to do. She also kind of like, and it just kind of goes to show. It's like she's like, "Oh, do you want to do?" It's like, why do you want to do it or not want to? Like, why do you want to do it? Like, this is the question that I have. Why do you want it? Why the obsession? Why did we have to come up as a talking point on your podcast? Your podcast has got nothing to do with black anything. Okay, I thought you were supposed to be training all of those insecure little incels, men, how to be real men. Yeah, and you're trying to tell women to stop being this and that so that they can be like. I thought that's what your podcast is all about. What happened to that? Yeah, why are you obsessed with us? Yeah, we ain't trying to be involved in your circles and in your spaces unless your name's Myron Abdul Fahad Gaines. Yeah, we're not trying to be a part of whatever it is that you're creating. So just enjoy your space, okay, without us. Talk about your own issues, okay? Talk about the Epstein files and the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases of children in your community being set upon by predatory YT males. Yeah, talk about that. Focus on that. You've got enough of your own issues in your community. Talk about the millions and millions of people you guys mass unalive on an annual basis in your many wars. Okay, don't talk about black on black crime. Can we talk about white on brown crime? because it is a crime, whether or not you want to dress it up with put a military on top of it. Your military goes out, and Snowden already exposed what kind of things you guys do to the women. Yeah, to the women that you, whenever you invade. Yeah, the women don't get a free pass. The women then get away from your rapacious men. Yeah, so we can talk about a whole bunch of your criminality. Yeah, there's your criminality is literally unbridled. Yeah, your criminality is infinite. There's infinite opportunities to examine all of the ways in which your people are continually criminal. But you know, we've got better things to do. So here's a better idea. Leave us the alone, and we'll leave you alone. How about that? Can we do that?